things like Rakan banned away, Pike was even banned away from the side of Detonation Focus Me, and of course they banned out the Aatrox as well.
Well, we'll have to see here because we are into the draft. KBM on the blue side. Camille will be their first takeaway. Again, Evie well known for a lot of those carry-style champions, especially Camille there in the top lane, so they'll deny him that option. Riev also going to lose a ban here in Rakan.
And we also want to remind people of what happened the last time these two teams met.
Oh,
this
it was
the Great Baron steal that Detonation Focus Me was able to find. KBM, they went for a bit of an ambitious Baron against what was a very solid team fight comp. And we just want to remind people how exciting that last matchup was and kind of build hype for this one, because I think it's going to be good, very tense, a lot on the line for KBM Esports. And Detonation Focus Me kind of come out as a surprise team so far in this group.
Kind of fun to see this as well. got banned away by KBM. They also did ban the Heimer away from Seros. And Pike, another bot lane ban here for DFM, as LeBlanc will be their last one.
So these are actually identical bans to the last time they met, except for the LeBlanc. So showing that respect over towards Jinquedo, which means that the Aatrox is open though. Instead, they're not going to prioritize it. They're going to take the Tom away from Vivid. We expected this to happen because of how strong Vivid is on the champion. It is a huge comfort pick of his, and he did so much work in both their games on day one. And now that it's been taken away from him, where does he move towards? He does like things like the Morgana and the Shen, and I do feel like the Shen kind of needs to be higher in priority just because of the amount of peel and shielding that his ultimate can provide.
I have to think so. As Gragas continuing to stay a pretty popular early pick here in the early stages of the World's play-in. I assume that will be Steel's pick, but of course there are some options to move him around. Maybe even that man on your screen, Seros, will bring out something spicy to the mid lane. You're not playing Soraka.
Oh yes, he is. It's the one pick you've always got to remember whenever Tahm Kench gets locked in. This was something that Vivid has played during the regular season, and we've seen it over in the LPL a fair amount, where whenever the Tahm Kench is picked, Soraka is just super obnoxious because of the amount of constant harass you can throw down, the fact that you constantly out-sustain your lane opposition, and I really love the pick. I think it's really strong in team fights as well, but by locking in the Skarner for Ranger...
Ooh, baby!
Oh, that is a Vel'Koz bot as well. We'll get into that in a second.
Ooh.
But the... I think the Skarner is a really good pick into Soraka because in fights you want to kill her as fast as possible. So flash in, lock her down, drag her back into the team, and then just quickly take her out of the fight will be absolutely huge.
Are you serious?
Utapon on the Vayne as well. And I'm expecting this Vel'Koz to be in the bot lane. Cheetan, in their finals, ended up bringing it out in game 2. And while he died, he gave away first blood, he then went on to demolish that laning phase. And it's something that KBM do occasionally bring out. They do like to play those mages in the bot side of the map. So I'm expecting a Vel'Koz versus Vayne bot lane. And I'll be honest, first time I've ever cast that.
Yeah, first time for me too. Is Zed the next ban here from Detonation Focus Me? Credit to them for doing their research, by the way.
Yeah, they're expecting this as well because the Zed mid was what was played too. He likes to play those AD assassins when there's a mage coming out towards the bot side of the map. So the Zed being taken off the board, definitely respect towards Jinquedo.
Wonder if maybe Yasuo will join the fray there
you
as
have
well.
to expect the Yasuo, yeah. And the Ziggs ban coming out as well. It's like there's so much comfort pick coming out from both sides, but the Vayne, I was not expecting that from Utapon. He hasn't played it once so far this season, but the Aurelia is actually taken off the board. So still a mid lane assassin, it kind of puts you towards that Yasuo pick. That's kind of what we're thinking about right now for the mid laner of KBM.
Yeah, I wonder if they ban maybe that Karma that Seros has played already. Have to think that they are, at least in some ways, going to try and support this Vayne. So we'll see what KBM's final ban is here. 5 seconds left. We'll be on. Smart First is taking that teamfight tank away from Evie.
Now, remember that Aatrox is still up and available. It does feel like that they've either been... Detonation Focus Me have either been trying to get a counter matchup for Evie, or they just want to put him on a safe tank engage. Both the Camille and Ornn have been banned away, which are two of his most popular picks, and I reckon that they had the Fiora ready in case an Aatrox was locked in as a kind of counter, but now that they're forced to blind pick the top lane, they're going to go with something safe. They're going to go for the Scion, something that Evie hasn't really played a lot of, but is really important to be able to play in this current.
Yep, feels pretty similar to something like Ornn as well, but as you mentioned, this does give agency over to KBM now for that top lane draft, so we'll see if they want to take the Aatrox themselves. Remember, of course, they have to complete their draft. We mentioned Yasuo as potential pick here for Jinquedo, but there is the Aatrox first.
All right, so I'm just going to throw it out there.
I'm ready.
okay, if the Yasuo gets locked in, there's the potential that they swap the Sion to mid and then they still lock the Fiora in towards the top side of the map. Just as a potential
That'd be pretty
option,
cool.
just as a maybe, gonna throw it out there. Right now, Aatrox into Sion. I think that's a pretty good matchup for the Aatrox. We know how lane dominant he can be. Interestingly though, they're gonna go with a scaling mid lane mage for Jinquedo. It is something that he's played he has played the Azir. It's nothing new to him. This guy has a pretty deep champion pool, and I think that he's arguably the most consistent player on the KBM esports lineup. So I'm not too concerned about him picking it. I'm just curious as to where it kind of fits into the comp, you know, because they've got a bit of everything. They do have strong early game. They have some scaling on their side. I feel that you can very easily play around the top side of the map. And we're going to see an answer of the Syndra in the mid lane as well. So two very interesting comps we've got here, Pastry.
I like this from Saras though, you know, saying, you know what, I don't just play this utility kind of weird stuff. I can play, you know, something more standard and try and dominate a lane as well. So they gave him counter pick. He will take Syndra. But yeah, I didn't think I'd be kicking off this second game with Vayne Soraka bot lane. Certainly not Vel'Koz there for Chiton, despite his recent history with the pick.
So for KBM, I expect them to play very much towards the top side of the map, try and get the Aatrox ahead because he is very lane reliant. Even though he did have some buffs on 819 where his scaling is a little bit better, his true strength does come from the early game and the laning phase. So you expect push to be available to KBM in the top side. The bot lane matchup, I expect that the Vel'Koz and Tahm Kench will have priority in that lane.
That's my expectations.
However, it's a Soraka Vayne, so I imagine they have a lot of sustain. And we know that Soraka is obnoxious into Tahm Kench because of how easy it is to stack up the health regeneration and land those, is it still stars that she throws down at her targets?
So.
And then she ends up, you know, she gets that heal back. So I expect push to be in favor of the Vel'Koz. On paper, that's what it says to me, but they confidently pick the Vayne, so they clearly know something that I don't. The scaling is definitely on their side, but then with an Azir in there as well, there's a lot of skills. Like, there's a bit of everything on either side. Do you know what I mean?
You know, they could have played an AD Assassin, they could have played something like Yasuo. They're like, we kind of need a marksman, a consistent damage dealer. Jinquedo's like, I got you, Azir.
I think the easy lane to play around for the side of Detonation Focus Me is the mid lane. Syndra, very easy point and click stun. The Gragas follow-up is very reliable too. We saw it in the last game, the first one of the day, where against a Zoe, if you just land that CC, you can very quickly get that burst down and set up for a nice easy kill. So, KBM, early game, top side, Detonation Focus Me, mid lane, and I guess we're going to learn together what happens in the bot lane.
Certainly, this should be fun. As Chiton with the Vel'Koz will move down towards that bot side of the map. Trying to see if there's any surprises this time around with Runes, but doesn't seem to be anything crazy. Teleport on both the bot laners is maybe one thing to notice, but it has been an option for many a bot laner this season. So
just as
no surprises yet.
Yeah, just as a reminder for people, Chiton has played a lot of Vel'Koz during the regular season and the playoffs. He has 3 games total on the champion, and when I saw it, I was like, it doesn't look that impressive, especially since he did die 2v2 in that final. However, he compensated massively once he went back to base and he got himself the early lost chapter. And once he had a bit of mana under his belt and he was able to land that poke, his skill shot accuracy was impressive. And the amount of damage you can throw out in team fights, the amount of poke that you have, paired up with an Azir, I can definitely see some very scary late game team fight power on this KBM lineup. And you think about the amount of peel that they'll have with the Tahm Kench. The only concern I have is how strong their engage is. Do they really need strong engage when they have pretty long-range champions with the Azir and the Vel'Koz is debatable. But yeah, they don't have any hard ways to just immediately commit to a fight versus Detonation Focus Me, who have the Sion and they have the Gragas there as well. So I feel like these late game fights, if we get to that point, are going to be really exciting because the outplay potential of the Vayne, can she even close the gap against all these long-range mages? It's going to be really interesting to see.
David is already the most annoying person on the rib, chunking down Riev and Chiton, just forcing them away. Yudapon even tumbling in, happy to take some harass, trying to get that last order, but Vivid is frontline Soraka.
All right, so I expected the Vel'Koz to have the early push, but he didn't start W, he started with Q, which means that he's going more for the damage tree, which I feel maybe was I mean, I guess it's a preference pick, but it does mean that you lose out on the push, and the fact that Yudapon and Vivid immediately just go for the aggressive trades, and they have more sustain because of the healing, means that they actually get priority over this lane. So clearly something that they were expecting, clearly something that they've practiced, I guess, and they've come in well prepared.
Yep, Steel here also going to take the crowd on the right-hand side, so gives his bot lane that early bit of vision as a Ranger clears through the Raptors here on his left-hand side. In fact, Steel might even do a little bit more than just check out the scenery. He's going to get a ward down there, so no gank just yet, but he's at least going to let them know that they are thinking about the area.
Also note that Chitan has already burned all of his health potions in the lane, and the bot lane of Detonation Focus Me is really healthy, except for Vivid. He just needs to be careful about his mana expenditure. It does give them that bit edge in the 2v2, but he needs to be careful now. Let that slowly build up and land that poke to get some health back himself, but he's eating a decent amount of poke from Chitan himself.
Like you said, accuracy on Chitan very strong. It's the well-known Ezreal player. So it kind of makes sense that those skills transfer over, and Vivid might even be taking an early back here as Yutapon tries to finish off the wave. Has to be a little careful, but no level 3 from the Velcro just yet means the threat's not too high. And Evie versus Santin. Santin's getting that push up nice and early, but Evie feeling just fine so far in the early stages of the tank versus carry matchup.
And it's nice that the Observer's panned up there because you'll notice that there is a Glacial Augment on the Scion. This was something that was brought out a lot in the first iterations when Scion became popular, and it just gives you that extra bit of sticking power that can often be difficult for Scion, especially against someone who has pretty decent mobility in the Aatrox. Now, there's a bit of a gank mid. This is kind of what we expected from Detonation Focus Me. Play with the Syndra, utilize the early power that she does have, and combine that with the Gragas CC to maybe find a couple of early kills. But for the time being, early wave clear heavily going in favor of the team.
Yeah, can of course pick him off, but if you can't really get under him, it can be tough. Terra's just going to have to be content with clearing under his turret for now. Nice silencer, actually. Up to Chitan again for the harass. Looks like they've returned to lane. No, I have to think they haven't backed yet. Yutapon saving that TP. Chitan burnt his already, so right now, Vayne just going to have to be at the mercy of the push right now. Nice knock up. Oof. Good trade.
Yeah, and you can see when the poke really comes out, that's when he gets super obnoxious. And that's one of the strengths that Vel'Koz does have in the laning phase. Now we see a gank up top from Ranger. Xantin's gonna set that one up.
Heavy though, smelling it out is probably not too far forward. Ranger with an easy stun after that flash, and that's a first blood for Aatrox.
And just as we were talking about pastry time, KBM want to play around top side, DFM want to play around mid, but it is Ranger that comes out on top. He finds his team first blood, and it will be going over to the Aatrox, which is going to be massive for them in terms of the early laning phase.
You're just a little too far forward. He's going to TP back in. Always a risky one, but has a Virtual Shroud now, so maybe going to be a little bit safer in the next encounter. And Steel also up here to cover for a potential repeat, as Evie does want to get the wave pushed into the turret.
I wonder if they're going to look for a dive. The pings are coming through.
They are indeed. Steel going to line it up. Santin death's over. Good flash. And now actually turret taking a little too far forward. Evie is taking it, but Ranger's up here again. Should be a freebie. Lands the E, looks for the stun flash. Auto there, grabs it now onto Steel. Going to try and make it a 2-for, but Evie still living. They may have split focus a little too much. Santin gets the knock-up, but a stun is going to land in now. Evie pulled back. The chains, not quite enough as Santin's last auto does get the kill. World and barely enough extra AD.
And Detonation Focus Me tried to kill Xantin's before he got that level 6 mark, but with a great flash and an outplay underneath the tower, he bought enough time for his jungler to arrive. So here's Steel, and you'll notice that he throws the barrel out pretty early, but then Xantin's not only dodges the knockup, but the barrel as well. And that means that DFM don't have enough damage anymore to find the kill. Ranger is full health, and is just there to try and help set up Xantin's, but his cooldowns are pretty long, and Evie is surprisingly tanky. He does get the level 6 mark though, and then they're able to chase Evie down. So once again, another good pickup for KBM, as the Aatrox is now 2-0 in the early laning phase.
Set up to really take over the lane there. Chiquero goes in, bluffs the shuffle. I like it, gets aggressive, autos down, but Seros holds firm. Does not blow that flash.
Just a bit of trading back and forth in the mid lane. Need to check in with the bot as well. Vayne doing surprisingly well in terms of farm. That's kind of the value of the Soraka, but here comes Ranger. He does have the ult.
There's Flash Tongue. Yutapon knows what's up. He's going to get out as Vivid pops the heal, but Yutapon maybe a little too far forward. He's got no flash. He does tumble out, but he still gets down to the end of the Tongue Lash. There's the Devour into the kill, and Chitan able to grab it.
Great pickup there from Ranger and the bot lane of KBM. He didn't even need to use his ultimate because Riev was able to land enough stacks to set up the crowd control and find themselves. Oh! Vivid! He gets the turnaround. Really good stuff from him. Cheetan not respecting the damage from the Soraka.
Is that Emax Soraka? It must be, given how much damage he took, but regardless, doesn't respect it, gets himself killed by the support. Vivid now gonna go back, hits level 6, and Steel back here on the top side. Gonna try and equalize a bit. How many times they're gonna do this for Xantines is just too big to really be stopped. Knock up, no flash, there's the Scion ult into the Decimate. It's all coming through together perfectly, and Detonation Focus Me finally shut it down.
So they keep committing to the top side of the map. Detonation Focus Me saying, you know what, this Aatrox is too far ahead, we need to get something. But we gotta backtrack to the bot lane. You can see the initial damage down to Cheetan looks good. The heal gets used. They don't have the flash due to an earlier trade that happened. Ranger gets super close, and you think he's tumbled out, but no! Riev lands the stun with the max stacks into the consume to set up for the kill from Cheetan. And then they're backing away, they're wave clearing, they think, oh, we're good here, we're happy, we can just leave this one. And then here it comes. Vivid walks up.
Straight E, right? Yeah.
Assassinated! The reaction there from the coaching staff. Definitely frustration. And then, of course, the gank did happen up towards the top side. But this nicely sets us up to talk about the last time that these two teams met.
Certainly did. As you can tell, there's the goal difference between these two sides. DFM struggling a little. First KBM in the early stages, but that Baron Steel we saw earlier in the Champ Select kind of unraveled it all.
Exactly that, and as we can see, the similar sort of pattern is happening once again. KBM finding these early leads, starting to build up an early gold advantage, and at the 20-minute mark, KBM built up to around a just under 5,000 gold lead off a single team fight. But then they threw around the Baron, they didn't quite have the proper setup, and hopefully this time around, with the early game lead that they've been able to build up for themselves, they can better utilize the strength of their composition to kind of hold on to that mid-game lead.
Yeah, and for Detonation Focus Me, you know, they had a nail-biter versus Cloud9 that with maybe some different decisions would have yielded a different result. We'll see how they can do as they fall behind. So they are keeping it respectable so far. Have to wonder if the pressure has continued to mount again like it did. Are they going to be so lucky around that Baron, or can they set themselves up on their own and use things like Udipon's Vein, like the engage they have from their top side, to look and get a fight going? And I think, again, it's just great to me how much class this team is showing, given that they've never played in the world stage. They're in one of the youngest competitive regions, in fact, still the youngest, and they've been able to say, you know what, we haven't made it, but we actually are a pretty good team in a region that has had lackluster international performances.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, right? Because for the longest time, Detonation Focus Me have always been considered arguably the best team in Japan, but whenever the important moments came up, they always ended up choking, and right now the ulti comes out on the Vivid.
Ult is going to save him, Soraka burning that cooldown to stay alive.
That was close. And you can see the difference when Cheetan gets some wave clear. This is the lost chapter we were talking about. Now he's really pushing the Vayne and Soraka underneath the tower, and the amount of damage he's able to land is really, really scary. But
that stun missed. Saras, though, not dead just yet. Steel's here. Maybe he's the one caught. He's going to be forced to flash over the wall.
But KBM looking really solid in this early game. Very healthy gold leads.
Certainly good, and Ranger again doing work. Nice to see him on. I mean, he's almost always going to play an aggressive pick, but has been very proactive so far. He's 100% KP as we crest the 11-minute mark, and looks like he's found his favorite target from earlier. Evie going to walk out of those first chains. See if there's a dive setup here for KBM.
Always a risky play to make when you're going up against the Scion. He does still have his flash available as well. And there's even a TP on Udipon, should it really be required.
That's usually not how that works, by the way, but well, then they're going to get popped. Going to look for this dive. Xantines going to go, but Evie ults away.
Yep, so ulti for ulti. He will lose a little bit of farm, but for the most part, Evie's going to be fine. Steel now looking around the mid lane. We saw him posturing around there early on into the game, but hasn't really made much of a repeat appearance since then. And outside of the first gank top, Steel hasn't really been able to have that huge of an impact. Now he's making his way bot, though.
No ult, but he's going to go for it here. Rio with a good devour, going to get some value. Gets the Tom Kenchi to the silence. Udipon pushed him out of it.
Riev did have flash, but of course he was in the silence, so I think the potential for a lockdown there was pretty big. Unfortunately, the coordination wasn't quite there. Steel didn't have his ultimate either. They get no summoner spells out from the bottom lane of KBM. So a failed gank going in favor of Kaboom Esports. The bright side for all this is Vayne is still farming.
Yes.
And that's always gives you the late game win condition of Vayne.
It's been a classic ever since Vayne's the champion, basically. It's Evie actually getting forced off pretty heavily here. Hasn't burned his TP, so we'll likely have to commit it now. And Seros just kind of farming back and forth here, going pretty lane heavy in the early stages. Sorks blasting one and double Darksteel plus corrupting. I mean, Seros is known again for these control mages, but hasn't really found much footing 1v1 in the matchup. As Chiton not only doing what has got him wins in their final, but apparently busting out Velkoz's first time at Worlds. I don't know if that's forever in history or just this Worlds, but certainly is this Worlds.
I'm going to take it for first time played ever at Worlds.
I think that's what it says.
I think that's what
And that's pretty crazy.
That is pretty crazy. I had that confirmed by the stats team, so thank you very much. So Chitan setting records. It would be even bigger if he could win, because then he'd be the only player on the planet 100% win rate on Velkoz at Worlds. And everybody wants that. I imagine that's what all
I want that for him. That's how cool that is.
So in terms of the state of the game, things have slowed down just a little bit. The gold's still slightly in favor of Kaboom. I'm kind of thinking about what both teams could look to do next, because Kaboom, they built up an advantage in top, but it hasn't really escalated heavily in the favor of Aatrox. Now, he doesn't have the Black Cleaver just yet, and I imagine that once that has been completed, he'll feel a little bit more comfortable, but I feel he hasn't pressured Evie that hard, and the tower is still pretty healthy. And outside of the first couple of ganks, we haven't really seen a return appearance from Ranger outside of when Evie obviously used his ulti to get out of that situation. And in terms of the bot lane, the Vayne is perfectly even. Seros has been maintaining a slight edge over Jinkedo. But it kind of sets up for what we were talking about earlier, these kind of mid to late game team fights and how they'll play out. Steel, ooh, solo.
And now actually the follow-up at Riev again, ready with the Devour.
That silence was clutch right there. If it did not come out from Vivid, I imagine Steel would have died because he didn't have his flash available. But Chitan really knowing the capabilities, or the full capabilities rather, of this champion and getting close to finding 2 kills. He tried to do it earlier on the Soraka, tried again on the Gragas. Unfortunately, yeah.
Ooh, great flash ult there from Ranger. He's going to try and suppress him down, but Steel ults him towards Seros. Now Jinkedo going to move in, gets the shuffle, finds 2 with an knockback,
no.
and that's why I'm going to make it a second. As Seros falls to Chitan from the road. Now Evie here, gonna try and get the snipe. Azir flashes out of the way and Evie straight into the wall. Flash in, Q does get the tag, but not the knockup, needs to keep running. W is there and Jinkedo able to surf away to safety.
Just barely gets away with his life, and now Ranger looking for more. Can't quite land the stun though. Kaboom find themselves 2 quick kills onto the Detonation Focus Me mid-jungle duo. They'll secure a top lane tower as well, and now things are starting to snowball heavily in the favor of the Brazilian squad.
And this is an aggressive team. I was about to criticize Ranger for not getting more aggressive after his early success, and because I hadn't seen the Skarner ult yet, but picks a good timing. Chitan has the early pressure. Kaboom roam down, they collect a ton of kills there on the bot-hand side, and also get the Mountain Drake for themselves as well. Unicorn is a not happy man. Ult there from Vivid just to make sure.
So the early couple of levels, this duo worked out very nicely, but the moment that wave clear came in from Chitan, he's just been dominating this laning phase, and this is likely going to be a second tower secured for Kaboom. Looking much more convincing compared to the first time that the 2 teams met. They had a strong early game, but remember that their huge goal lead came, funny enough, at around this point in the game where they found a big team fight, and then they ended up losing that advantage around the Baron. So will they repeat those same mistakes, or will they be able to hold on to what has been a very convincing early game and transition into a solid mid game?
Yeah, important to really show that, you know, you can correct those things, can learn and close out the game from here. Santines is applying that pressure with the turret gone. He's going to move that towards the tier 2, and with his Black Cleaver finished and item 2 on the way. Feels pretty confident in the 1v1, but let's watch this again. It was quite good. It is our Ace of Predator replay.
So Ranger flashes in. He's like, okay, we have the push on bot and in mid, which means that my 4 members are going to get here way before yours are. And oh, Syndra wants to get involved too? Well, unlucky for you. Seros burns his flash a little too early. He wants to get into the blue pit where Soraka is, but he ends up face planting into the wall and giving away 2 kills to Kaboom. So they're naturally going to feel quite happy about that pickup. And now we see Chitan 2-1-0, the mid laner 1-0-1. Everything looking good for Kaboom so far.
Yeah, I mean, mid lane's been kind of quiet, but Jinkedo is showing really there's a lot of prowess on this champion, which of course we did know coming in. Despite it not being that popular in general, all that teams, he's looking for it. No flash, can't follow. Soraka ult burnt though, so Xantians gets 2 cooldowns for the price of 1.
You know, and Ranger, the first time that he met up against Steel was really schooling him in terms of the early game jungling. He was stealing away all his camps, he was getting a huge level advantage, but then he made a couple of crucial mistakes, gave away a couple kills, and that allowed Steel back into the game. This time around, Ranger has been involved in every single one of the kills for KBM. He has a 2-level advantage over Steel, and he's sitting at a 20 CS advantage. So Ranger really showing his dominance over the opposite jungler, and I think this is a really big deal for KBM moving forward, because if they want to fight their way back into this group, if they want to try and either force a tiebreaker versus Detonation Focus Me, or potentially find an upset against Cloud9, it's going to come off the back of a strong jungle performance from Ranger, and if he can maintain this level of performance throughout the groups, KBM are looking scary and scary.
Yeah, I said before that they're kind of a one-speed team. Ranger really is the guy that's the engine and the steering wheel somehow for what drives KBM forward. An aggressive player through and through. A good barometer for how the team is doing, and given his stats that you just rattled off, I was saying that KBM are looking good so far. The Rift Tower that they got will convert into all 3 outer turrets falling pretty swiftly. They'll need a bit of extra work here on the turret, but that'll be simple enough as DFM can't really hope to defend this. So that's 3 turrets to 0. And that climbing gold lead still for KBM. Cheats out, looking for the 1v1, but a silence from Vivid again. Shuts it all down, and still the Vel'Koz almost gets it.
Really close silence once again, but now Yutapon, he's made his way bot.
Oh, really good angle there on the Scion Drift. Yutapon looking for that kill. Vayne, real good when she shatters the top laner. But here's Tom Kent's going to try and turn her back around. Which buddy has he brought with him? No, another man got cancelled as Yutapon does collect the kill.
All right, so Detonation Focus Me. They find a kill on the board that will bring them up to 3, but KBM still finding pressure in the mid lane. They don't have the wave throw on the side of DFM to be able to clear this one out, and with the constant poke coming out from the Azir and the Vel'Koz, you just slowly get forced off the tower, but now we see a TP.
It's a very aggressive TP from Evie. Don't know if Yutapon can really do much here, so somewhat of a waste there, I have to say, from the Japanese top laner. Sun turret falls there in mid. And KBM get away with that pressure, only losing 1 there as Xantians will get picked off. And we have to talk about Yutapon here after this.
He makes his way towards the bot lane. Xantins, he feels he's pretty safe here because there are 4 members mid. He knows, okay, if they come to kill me, then we secure mid tower. And they're fine making this trade. I'm curious as to what interrupts the Tahm Kench ulti. I believe it was some damage, some CC that came out from the from Saros in the mid lane. But now you're kind of looking at Yutapon to be the big carry for the side of DFM. Their late game win condition is that Vayne. The ability for him to make these outplays, shred through the tanks, or the front line rather, because there aren't really that many tanky members, but it's going to be hard. We talked a lot about how KBM have this huge range advantage, and fun fact, Vayne, really short range champion. So being able to even get close to these carries is going to be really difficult. And how DFM pull it off? I look forward to seeing if they even can.
And I think with Saros having a bit of a quieter game, I mean, he's been the guy for so long in Japan, but Yutapon was kind of right there after him as the kind of the next guy that people were talking about. We talked about how he slogged around before. He's now back in AD carry. He was well known for his Vayne when he kind of first entered the Japanese League of Legends scene. Yutapon's the guy that's been really a bastion for whichever team he has been on. And for once, you know, kind of the star that everyone knows in Saros is not having such a good game. And they invested in this Vayne, so Yutapon's back at it again. Gonna keep picking up the top laner if he can. Well done to Pop, but Yutapon gonna keep running for it. The chains don't quite latch. The Resurrect is out now, and Yutapon, this looks like an easy one. Stun into the wall, and there's the kill.
This time round, KBM are not in a position to be able to punish DFM. They will get a bit of vision around the Baron, but big mistake there from Xantins, overcommitting towards the bot side of the map. Allows Yutapon to just run down the lane, find another kill, and he's just going to keep ramping up. The QSS has now been picked up. Yes, it will delay the second major item, but it will make it that much harder for Ranger to lock him down.
Yeah, in general, Yutapon, there's a lot for him to wade through when it comes to getting aggressive. So in 1v1 or in 2v1s here, down towards the bot lane, very easy. In any sort of bigger fight, you have so much to dance around with all the threats that are on KBM. At this point, it's not so much about the items he has, just how many times he can shoot you before dying. Because if he goes down, I think Detonation Focus Me's hopes in this game may as well. As KBM, a second Mountain Drake now, going to make that Baron much easier as they move towards the left side of the map.
Completely agree. KBM, they do have good vision around that objective, and they've been able to very quickly and cleanly gain the push in mid, largely thanks to Chitan on this Vel'Koz. They just need to maintain whatever vision they can, keep the Vayne farming. 3 items is usually the point at which you go, this is a scary champion. And they're quite a way off of that. In the meantime, KBM will continue to maintain pressure. And I wonder how they will threaten this Baron. Will they look to try and move into DFM's jungle and look for a potential pick? Or will they actually start this objective off? Because you have Nazir, which makes the Baron pretty fast, but without an AD carry, that Baron taking speed rapidly slows down. So whether or not they even feel confident that they could take it before DFM could contest is the next big question.
Yeah, I feel like no matter what happens, KBM are probably thinking to themselves, just don't give them a 50-50 again.
Yeah.
We remember what happened last time, so I'm expecting to be a bit more control here as KBM will continue to take things pretty slow, and their lead is still very significant, so no need to panic just yet. Cleared out good vision, Rain is going to take down this Scuttle Crab, and there's the sweep up popped by the support Riev. Going to move that one away. Also, Blast going to potentially take off the map as well. DFM are trying to sneak in for some vision, but Chitan is continuing to poke, and that wall was sick from Jinkato. Now Evie caught on the wrong side of things. The red buff thrown towards KBM just to ward them off the play.
So nobody died, only ultis were traded, top for mid laner, and now DFM's engage has gone, while Xantins continues to just push on the bot side of the map. Remember, he has the TP available, Evie didn't, so he was forced to group up, and now, KBM, they start the Baron, because again, Evie can't join this fight.
Smart use of pressure, it's only 3 in the area for Detonation Focus Me, and it's dying pretty quickly with a double mountain boost. But Steel can do just that if he can find a way into the pit. There's Ranger there with the ulti. They're going to try and shut him down before he can get in, but he pops the stop one. Vivek with the ulti there as well. Going to try and keep their hopes alive, but he burned the flash. He now can no longer get in the pit, but maybe DFM just want to find the fight. In the bot side, there's Evie going down to Xantins to the 1v1, but Saris with a big 2-man stun. Oh, still there! Steel! He actually stole it! KBM have to be thinking, how did we let it happen again? And Unipon in to get a little bit of extra gold. He takes down Riev. And it's tragedy for KBM.
And once again, Steel does just that. He secures the Baron for Detonation Focus Me. He takes away the win condition, and KBM repeat history as they have their Baron stolen.
How did he get in? Did he still have flash?
He just E'd over the wall. He E'd Smite. Observers, please give us a zoom-in slow-mo of that moment. Remember that Steel, at this point, he still has his flash. The logic from KBM is flash over the wall, instantly kill Steel, and we're good. But Vivid plays this beautifully as the silence comes through into the ulti from the Zhonya's as well. Steel then uses his flash at this point, but he gets healed back up by Vivid. So he's more than healthy to go for this, and then KBM go, okay, we'll just burst it down. Everyone throw out your combo damage, but then over the wall, 987 damage it looked like initially, but I imagine he popped the barrel at the same time, so he had Smite plus that to get enough in. Unipon then just flashes in on the Vayne. All of KBM just split apart. Oh, man.
It just felt like they did almost everything.
That is
right.
the most mild excitement I have.
All right, there you go. Magic Stuff got your back there. Still very reserved, very respectful.
Yeah, very reserved, very respectful.
Very small pop-off, but Magic Stuff not so much.
I just can't believe, like, they did it again,
That's
man.
what I'm saying. Like, it felt like everything else went right, or pretty close to, in what they had trying going on, and then Steel's like, oh, I've still got 1 mobility spell left, and just zips himself over the wall and takes it with ranges.
And look at this, look at this.
Off cooldown.
Unipon level 15 on the Vayne now. He has 2 levels above Chitan. He has 2 items completed. And while Steel is massively behind, the big win condition of DFM is available.
Unipon here as well, can maybe get a pick off, but Steel, evaporates. That Vel'Koz damage, no joke, 2.5 items and counting.
So I think that's the important thing we have to remember. Even though DFM stole the Baron, Steel is still very weak. The front line of DFM is pretty squishy, and KBM still have a 7,500 gold lead. So they're still in full control of this game. DFM have just bought themselves more time to stall, which is ultimately what they need when they have the Vayne. But still, this game heavily in control of KBM.
Let's keep pushing. Sarah's trying to do what he can to prevent getting sieged on here, but Chitan's poke is just so potent. He's going to be forced away from this one. Predator pop by Rangers to try and zone. Banshee's back up. Maybe a little too late to try and defend it, so will not be able to. And that's tower number 6. Detonation Focus, we still don't have a single turret, and that gold lead is sitting precariously close to 10,000 already.
Yep. this is what we were saying, in that KBM still very much control the game. They secured another tower, and the Baron, it's going to wear off soon. And unfortunately for DFM, they couldn't really gain much off the back of it, aside from a little bit more farm, a little bit more time to reach that Vayne win condition point. But Yutapon, pressure's going to fall on his shoulders. All he needs is a front line. He needs Soraka to keep him alive. DFM just have to play around the Vayne.
Yeah, Redemption, Knight's Vow, clearly again buying some of these tank and support items that can let Vayne be sort of that one-man army. There's also a Cloud Drake up and available. We'll see if Detonation Focus Me have enough time to swoop in and take this. They have started it. Seros aggroes the Drake. And it should be a pretty easy cleanup here.
Look at Aatrox. Look at Aatrox. He's in a flanking position. KBM could go for the collapse, but it is just a Cloud Drake, so it looks like they don't want to run the risk.
Looking for potentially a straggler or just a good angle, but none found. Back to the mid-wave then, and continued credit to Xantines for getting so much pressure in this side lane, despite a good start and then some not so good stuff perhaps, as the ganks were answered in the top lane.
Engage.
Yeah, doesn't have time for that right now. Oh, back around it, very smooth from Evie, but only a Ranger that can maybe try and pick up here. Ults again, as Ranger is going to get knocked back around. Evie just chased in, forced the ult out, and then does get an engage back through. The ult from Soraka is big. Redemption are not going to make it there in time. And there's one kill done already. Xantines maybe a little too far full, but Yutapon knows he's got to play dodgeball, and that's a kill for KBM.
And you could see the struggles that DFM have when trying to force these fights. There's so much range and poke and CC on the side of KBM that even though DFM dodged a lot of the CC, they still couldn't allow Yutapon to get onto the back line. And the fact that Vel'Koz positions in a way that's so far away, he has his ulti, he has the knockup, it's really difficult for Yutapon to utilize the power that he's been able to build up over this time.
Yeah, and KBM, such strong siege here with the Azir and the Vel'Koz. Just waiting, moving these minions in. That Steel gonna have to go bot side and clear that out. Yutapon gonna collect what he can. And KBM actually will back off here.
So now the Baron spawns in a minute 40. This is DFM's next opportunity to stall the game even further. Hopefully KBM set up properly and safely rather than running the risk of having the Baron stolen away from them, because they are heavily in control of this game. They are clear favorites to win. They have to make the mistake in order for DFM to win this game. And that's the crucial thing to remember, because they've scaled up nicely. They have 3 items on 2 of their biggest damage dealers in the Azir and the Vel'Koz. They have more than enough peel with the Tahm Kench. They all have their summoner spells up. Patient, calm play. That's all they need to do. If they go for another 50-50, DFM are in the less stressful position, because, they're the ones behind. They need a lucky steal. And I've heard many junglers say the one who's trying to steal often has a much easier time than the one that's trying to secure it for his own team, in the sense that, you're the one that starts it.
Yeah, mentally it feels way more stressful to be the one that can get it stolen from you, whereas if you're the team almost 10,000 gold behind, not a whole lot you're upset about. Just trying to go for it there as Evie continued to get denied by Jinkato. Something really nice about the Azir pick, actually. Evie, he's clearly trying to start these engages because they need to, but denied every time so far. And now Ranger going to go back around, find Steel. Ranger not that tanky, but not enough there as the damage is good. Evie just melts to the Skarner as Steel forced to get out there as well. Frontliner not so hot as Xantines. He's going to go in onto Yutapon. Missed the next one. Yutapon trying to dance around it, but he does go down to electrocute. And KBM, they grab a double kill for their top laner. They're going to try and grab more. Xantines wants them all. Going to force Seros to flash away. Evie finally back in the zombie mode. Is going to get taken down as well.
And initially that fight looked good for DFM, but then Xantines arrives and just melts through the carries of DFM. What a huge flank he was able to pull off, and KBM, they might not even need the Baron because they will finally be able to break into the base of Detonation Focus.
They're actually pushing all 3 lanes right now, trying to get 1 or 2 inhibitors. So Xantines will be denied, but Jinkato and Riev, easy enough for them to pick up. G-Time might need a little bit more help. He's going to call his teammates over as they do take the one in bot lane down. Xantines rotates over, they'll take that. I think DFM are going to have to give up 2 here. Will do so as KBM finish off yet another inhibitor.
The damage from Aatrox was just ridiculous. He cleaved through Vivid and Yutapon. Even though Yutapon being level 16, he now has the GA. He didn't have it in the last fight. I don't know if I agree with that. Maybe he won I feel like getting to that Infinity Edge point much faster is stronger, but we'll see. So Ranger just hard flash. I don't fully agree with this engage because you're so far away from the rest of your team that you don't really get much damage off the back of Chitan, but then you can see Xantin's around, he gets CC'd up. The Soraka is too far away from the Vayne. He flashes over, then they flash away, and then the electrocute proc from the heal is enough to secure the kill onto the Vayne, and then Xantin's can immediately turn onto the Soraka. So they tried to save themselves, like one tried to save himself, the other tried to save the other, and they end up dooming both parties. So once again, great flanking from Xantin's. He hasn't had the best performance so far this game, overextending a little bit, giving those kills to Yutapon, but he's been able to redeem himself with a good fight there.
Look, he's applying pressure. Whether
Yes.
whether it's the pressure you're asking for, it's certainly the one you're getting. He's been consistently pushing down the lanes, found a great team. But we've been talking about these 2-3 item majors for a lot of the game because Jinkedo and Chitan have looked so good, but it is Xantin's right now as Rangers start things up, kind of getting it all going, and surely this Baron's going to be okay.
Surely it can't happen 3 times in a row.
There's a blast cone ready. Kaboom are just going to try and go for it. Yep, they do get it down. Throwing him out with the ulti actually from the Vel'Koz, and Kaboom successfully take the Baron from Detonation Focus Me.
All right, so steal. No steal this time around. Kaboom much more confident in their secure of the Baron. They're just going to group up towards the top lane, which is the final inhibitor left that they need to secure. And Kaboom should finally be able to get themselves their first win on the board for the Plains.
He just spent Yutapon, by the way. I assume it's his mouse hand, kind of leaning it back, stretching it out, shaking it a little bit. He knows that he's got a lot of work to do in just a few moments. He's going to go back, picks up a pickaxe, but that's all he's really going to have for this next engage. And there's an Infernal for Kaboom to take as well if somehow the game is not going to end with 2 inhibitors down and a fresh Baron buff. So top lane we go. Xantin's getting the bot lane, minions pushing in, and Detonation Focus Me gonna have to find something. Looking at Steel with no flash to find a miracle angle on engage, and instead he gets chunked down by Vel'Koz.
The poke is strong from Kaboom. Their siege is even stronger as they have the Baron-empowered minions following right behind them. DFM can't really find a good opportunity to engage. Evi's kind of looking for it, but look at Yutapon wave clearing.
Yeah, again tonight, Evi goes in, gets ulted by the Azir, and just dealt the damage by the mages. More than enough frontline damage to go. Is Evi gonna Righteous Glory in? Gets the Q, gets a double knockup for his trouble. Pretty tanky there.
Ranger, he had a good performance the first time the 2 teams met, but he made a couple of mistakes that allowed Steel to get back into the game. This time around, Ranger was just in full control of the jungle matchup. He did not give a single opportunity to steal outside of when the Baron got stolen, but for the most part, was really impressed with the jungle performance, along with Chitan on this Vel'Koz.
Yeah, I mean, that looked really good, actually. I mean, you kind of said it like he died the first time he played it in the final and came back and started dominating. That's kind of how I felt the lane went, even though he didn't die this time. Early game, you know, a little bit of a struggle. But once he got going, double Dorrance into Lost Chapter, and it was full steam ahead as Kaboom in their entirety played very, very well in that game. For Detonation Focus Me, they were the hot-looking team. And the first day they played, not looking so hot right